regardless of how the school showed up and how they taught, people who are interested in psychology, my brain was always looking to understand people and looking to understand how circumstances impacted behavior, thought process, so on and so forth. So even without being a great student in the classroom and without having gone to a school with a strong reputation in developing psychologists or people who are interested in psychology, my own interest in the subject matter allowed me to kind of just study it and then take that understanding of people, understanding of how people develop and evolve and so on and so forth. And that's, I use that in my purpose work because obviously I'm talking to people and I'm trying to understand how their upbringing, how DNA, how life circumstances, how all of that can help a person understand where they're gifted, help them understand what they're passionate about, and inevitably help that person understand how all that was contributing to them living a purpose-centered life.
Life that I'm living. Sit back, chillin', start a multi-business with the focus of making millions. It's the stuff that dreams are made of and no.
Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Let's Talk Business. Today I got a special guest with me, somebody who had an impact even on my personal life as I've been taking this journey on entrepreneurship. He's someone very special to me and I'm very proud to be able to have this conversation with him today and introduce him to you. Who am I talking about? Well, today I'm talking about a personal guy that has impact on other people, including myself, and his name is Mr. Marv Fox Jr. What's going on, Marv? How you doing?
I'm good, Mr. Robinson. How are you?
I'm doing okay, my friend. Hey, man, thank you for taking the time out to meet with me, even though we're doing this today on Zoom. And there's a reason for that, and we're going to tell our guests a little bit about that. But before we go into that, Marv, tell the people a little bit about your background.
So I think the most important thing is I do purpose coaching. It's kind of I know there's life coaches out there, and I don't think I'm qualified to tell anybody how to live their life. But when it comes to purpose and living a purpose-centered life and helping people figure that out, I've done some work on myself. I've done a lot of work on myself, as well as doing a bunch of reading and just kind of using the world as my research and talking to as many people as possible to help to understand what goes into purpose and a purpose-centered life. And at the end of the day, it's about helping people figure out where they're gifted, what are their gifts, what are they passionate about, and taking those two and merging them to not only impact one's life, but their family's life, their community life, the people in their community, as well as the people in whatever industry they want to serve, and so on and so forth. And so that's. I know you asked me for my background, but I think what I'm doing is most important. But obviously, I'm pretty sure we'll get into some questions that will help me to explain how I got to this place of being a purpose coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that because definitely you have had an impact. So now let's get those questions that'll be a little bit more direct for you, my friend. So where are you originally from, and what school did you attend?
I'm from Detroit, Motor City, 313 area code. I'm really from there, not the metropolitan area, not the outskirts. I'm really from Detroit. So I'm from Detroit, and I went to a high school called Murray Wright. It's no longer there. I went to a college called Concordia University. There are several of them around the country. My location, which is in Ann Arbor, Michigan, is closing. This will be its final year. So when we get to the spring, it will be Concordia University of Ann Arbor, their final year. So I'm kind of like a bad luck charm. If I graduate from your institution, there's a good chance that it might close down. So I'm from Detroit. I currently reside in Ann Arbor, and I went to school at Concordia University, and here I am.
Okay. So when you was going to school, what did you major in, and how does that today play a part in what you do?
So I studied psychology. I want to be a sports psychologist. When I was going to school, Tiger Woods was tearing up the world of golf, and I learned that he had a sports psychologist or performance coach to get him locked in. And so I was fascinated by that. So I went to Concordia University, not because of a psychology program, but I went there because I was a student athlete. I played basketball. And so I played basketball all 4 years. And in retrospect, Concordia University is not the school you want to go to if you want to study psychology. But regardless of how the school showed up and how they taught, people who are interested in psychology, my brain was always looking to understand people and looking to understand how circumstances impacted behavior, thought process, so on and so forth. So even without being a great student in the classroom and without having gone to a school with a strong reputation in developing psychologists or people who are interested in psychology, my own interest in the subject matter allowed me to kind of just study it and then take that understanding of people, understanding of how people develop and evolve and so on and so forth. And that's, I use that in my purpose work because obviously I'm talking to people and I'm trying to understand how their upbringing, how DNA, how life circumstances, how all of that can help a person understand where they're gifted, help them understand what they're passionate about, and inevitably help that person understand how all that was contributing to them living a purpose-centered life.
Okay, okay. Thank you for sharing that, my man. So now here's a question for you. You say you're originally from Detroit.
Yes, sir.
Did being born and raised in that Detroit area, did that play a part that made you say later on that you wanted to be someone that inspired and helped other people?
Not really. I wouldn't say it was growing up in Detroit. I think it it was being an only child, being an only child and didn't having and not having a lot of distractions. So when you talk about psychology, I wouldn't say that I was hyper aware of myself, but I had a lot of time to explore everything that was going on the inside, right? So when you have siblings, I would imagine when you have siblings, it's easier to kind of distract yourself with, who's taking your stuff or whose stuff you want to take or who's kicking you out of the room or, whatever compromises that you may have or challenges you may have with your siblings and stuff like that. I didn't have that. So I was always inside my own brain trying to process moments and the moments that brought emotions and trying to work through moments and emotions and my own securities and insecurities and things of that nature. And it was like that alone time also helped me to really activate my imagination. Again, not having brothers and sisters, I'm constantly taking my toys, my action figures and creating stories and creating personalities and agendas and things of that nature. So I was very much so living inside myself, if that makes any sense. And I think it wasn't necessarily Detroit that made me want to help others. It was more so understanding that maybe some of the thoughts that I have going on the inside that I was privileged to explore, some people may not have the questions to answer those questions that could help them to understand themselves better. And through understanding is where we inevitably find ourselves with an opportunity to live or lean into our purpose. I will say this, coming from Detroit gave me a little bit of, let's say, grit and the toughness and confidence that maybe coming from a smaller town I would not have had.
Understood, understood. And again, I'm thankful that you brought that up because I think that's one of the things that connected you and I, Marv, because like you, I didn't really grow up with any siblings. And so that made me very selfish with my cousins because anytime they was around, that was who I needed to do whatever dirt we would go do as young people. So
For sure.
I get it. So now let's talk a little bit about your process of your business. At what point in your life did you say, I'm going to become a business owner, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, and what did that beginning stages look like for you?
So I graduated college, had a degree in psychology. I was lucky that the university that I attended gave me an opportunity to work in admissions. So I took that job. So before I walked across the stage, I had a gig. I was an admission counselor helping people go to college. I was making, okay money at the time, nothing crazy, I had benefits. So I had a really good job and I was doing meaningful work. I was helping families transition their child from high school to college. And my territory was Detroit. So I would drive back to Detroit a lot and do work. So that was even more meaningful that I could feel like I was giving back to other people of color in helping them with the education process of the higher education transition. And in all of that, I realized that I was developing an understanding that I don't like working for other people. And the problem is, and I know this is not true, but this is how I feel. I felt like I'm smarter than everyone else. Now, I know that's not true. I know that's not true. But the leaders that I was coming in contact with, there was something about them that I just couldn't get behind. I would be led begrudgingly, but I just couldn't do it. I had that first job, I quit. I had another job in which I was as a performance coach, so helping people become better athletes. And there was a manager who too was opening up a restaurant. And so we would constantly have conversations about ownership and having your own stuff. And you could work for somebody else, but have something that's your own. He was kind of ahead of the curve in that there are so many people now that want to have, they're willing to work for somebody and have that residual income coming in, that predictable income coming in, but they also want to have something that is their own so that when they have to transition from one job to the next, they got something that can keep them afloat while they're, finding the place where they can make the money that will help them sustain their lifestyle. And so that was kind of it for me, having some jobs that I wasn't crazy about, dealing with leadership that I could not be led by, and then running into a person that not only was an outstanding leader, but was very encouraging of me becoming an entrepreneur because he saw that I had an entrepreneurial spirit more than just a spirit that would allow me to work for someone else. You know what I'm saying? And when you're working for somebody, when you're an entrepreneur, you may work with others and work for others. So you're always kind of working for someone to some degree. But he saw that I needed to be doing my own thing more so than being a part of a collective.
Okay. And see, that's powerful. That's powerful because you what you touched on is the mindset. And with that mindset, you are willing to accept risk that come on that journey. Yeah. So now that you've established that within yourself, you're comfortable understanding yourself in that way. Let me ask you, when it came to the structuring of your business and identifying the industry in which you was going to go into, how did that come about?
I started training basketball players. I still do that for a living. So if I were to tell you my complete entrepreneurial title, I'm a coach, and I coach basketball skill and I coach purpose. I started coaching basketball skill first, and that was my first entrepreneurial endeavor that I made money from, and everything to the business. I was the marketing, I was the talent, I was the administration, I was everything. I was collections, I was everything. And I was maybe doing that a couple times a week, a few times a week, maybe sometime on the weekend, but it made a lot of sense to me. Challenges and all, it made a lot of sense to me. So I started doing that, and that basketball training got me into basketball coaching on the collegiate level. And so from there, organically, I was tasked with the responsibility of giving pep talks before the kids went out and played. So if you think about a basketball season on the collegiate level, you're talking about 30 to 35 games. So our games took place twice a week. So 2 times a week, I had to come up with a speech that was about, a minute to 2 minutes long, right? Something around there. And I had 2 days to work on those speeches. So because I started doing it, and I've coached college basketball for 8 years. So I started working on these speeches and I started getting good at them. And then next thing you know, when we have a camp, Coach Fox is going to give a message to the campers. Anytime that we would go, we had places that we would do things with other schools. Well, you got anybody who would like to come speak to our kids? I got the perfect guy, Coach Fox. So I kept getting all these opportunities to speak, and they weren't glamorous. They were at schools, they were at Bible studies, they were at, church functions and things of that nature, nothing crazy. But I was taking those repetitions serious. And from there, I realized that I had a message about positivity and positive mindset, so on and so forth. I became a very toxic person because I was overly optimistic, and it seemed as though I was dismissive of challenges that people were being faced with. So I'm telling you to, put on a happy grin and go get the most out of life. but I'm not identifying the challenges that people are facing. And so that can make you feel, that made me still feel toxic. Shortly thereafter, I started trying to figure out how you can become this person that you envision yourself to be. And I started working through this process because I was trying to come up with a very efficient process to help people evolve. And out of that, I came across Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theory that helped me understand multiple intelligences. That's how I help people discover their gifts. I was given a definition for purpose, for passion that helps me help other people identify what they are really passionate and emotionally connected to. And from there, it's just me constantly working on my process that inevitably helped me to realize that I want to talk to people about purpose. And I started off with college age folk. I mean, now I have a purpose program that can probably go all the way to like middle school age and up. So I have my program is very dynamic and it can be modified for many different audiences. No matter if we're talking about wellness, no matter if we're talking about performance, no matter if we're talking about leadership, it's a concept that I can modify and then adapt to a lot of different audiences.
Okay, okay. So I really appreciate you giving me that journey, how you had to gain some education in the area that you felt you was lacking because of what you felt within yourself and what you wanted to do. So that was powerful. That was powerful. Thank you for sharing that. So now, when it comes now to actually establishing your company, first and foremost, what's the name of your company and what does it do?
Speak on Purpose, LLC, Speak on Purpose, and I provide purpose work. I provide purpose programming, and my purpose work or purpose programming has four sectors, kind of five sectors. It's got a leadership sector. It works for leadership, wellness, performance, emotional intelligence, and DE&I. So there was a time when, especially when DE&I was something that was super heavy, a lot of companies needed to add that component to its professional development to kind of fill a lot of different buckets. I was being educated in that space, and so I was able to do that. And so I do some DE&I work, but the stuff that I'm most excited about is using purpose to help people become better leaders, using purpose to help people live healthier lives, and then also using purpose to enhance or optimize performance. And the emotional intelligence piece comes in because if you aren't able to manage your emotions, when you are working through the process of discovering your gifts and your passion, you're going to stumble across some moments that are going to elicit some very, very strong emotions. And if you can't manage your emotions, you will never, ever see the beauty in what you went through and how it was unlocking or building skills within you. And so with that being said, we got to talk about emotional intelligence, emotional awareness, emotion management to inevitably get to a place where we can understand how that tough time was actually a catalyst for something greater as it relates to, purpose. So with that being said, that's how my work kind of unlocks. I hope I'm answering these questions right, because sometimes I get going and I forget the question, and it's like, I hope I'm not just rambling.
No, man, you're doing an outstanding job because you're hitting it on the nose. Now your company is registered with the state of Michigan, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now, with it being registered in the state of Michigan, we have to. Now, for my audience here in the state of Indiana, they might be saying, well, why is he talking to him? I thought we was Indiana based. Let's talk a little bit about how you and your business is operating or working within the state of Indiana, particularly here in the South Bend area. And this conversation, no doubt, will identify how you and I met and our journey together. So I'll turn the floor over to you. Give it to him.
Yeah. So I was actually somebody I went to grad school with. They got a job working with an individual who works in higher education in a lot of different places, but found themselves at Ivy Tech. And so he called me and says, Marv, I need a program. I need something that we can do for, several sessions that is, your content plus professional development plus this and the third. So you kind of gave me all the things that this program needed to hit. And so I came up with this concept of how about we just help people figure out their purpose, and we call it the Purpose Institute. And so I work with Ivy Tech. I think I've been going on maybe 3 or 4 years, but I do this virtual program with the Ivy Tech location in South Bend, where the first 3 sessions we are doing purpose work, where I'm helping people figure out their genius level talent, helping them figure out their purpose, their passion, and using that and helping them figure out how they can use that to impact the lives of others. On the 4th session, I actually drive to South Bend so that I can hand out certificates and this little profile thing that I create for them. And we break bread and we eat. That's what I was doing at Ivy Tech. Obviously, you were in that program, and I noticed the first thing I noticed about you, that you were word smart. You do a really good job of using words effectively. And you were answering questions in a way that was very unique from everybody else. Everybody else was just kind of talking, but it seemed like even in your natural conversation, there's a performance element to the way that you communicate, just in a regular conversation. And so it's helping people see the gifts in themselves and helping them to validate themselves is that what makes the program so powerful. There's all types of programs out there that you answer a bunch of questions and then they spit out some sort of outcome and they tell you what your personality is. And those programs are powerful, tons of research behind them and whatnot. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't help the person validate themselves. What people often do is they start trying to live up to this script that was spit out to them based upon their answers. And those tests can't, or those personality assessments can't account for everything that a person has been through, right? Some things are going to be left off the table. So my goal is to help people validate themselves and help them to identify what gifts they have. Because I think when you are able to validate your own gifts and your own passion and validate yourself, the confidence that you have to now move forward and do something using those gifts, it's far more likely. And so you were in that program. I asked some questions. You told me everything that you were. You validated yourself. You developed confidence, and it gave you probably just enough ammo, enough energy, enough motivation to act upon it. And here we are. And so I've been fortunate to do some work in South Bend, Indiana with Ivy Tech. And so it's been a blast. And so I'm going to be going there sometime next year. But the goal is to keep that conversation going, keep that relationship going, to see if it can balloon or evolve into something else.
Yeah. And I'm so proud of you, man, because since that class, I've seen you emerge even greater, with programming at the campus, even to a conference level. So congratulations to you.
So Jill Stewart, she has been incredibly just helpful and purposeful in being an ambassador for me and speaking about what it is I'm doing and helping other people to believe in my abilities and believe in this idea that purpose can be this powerful, dynamic, and very necessary tool that can help people elevate and evolve. And so she has been helping me out from a business standpoint, but she helped you out too. She got you into that program and created this opportunity for the both of us. And so here we are because of our own work, but also because of a young lady by the name of Jill Stewart. So we got to make sure we give her a shout out because she's been incredibly instrumental in our work directly and indirectly.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to give that shout out to Jill Stewart right now. So with that being said, though, man, I want to give you your flowers, too, in connection with what we're talking about, that Purpose Institute, just to share a little bit of it for the audience. If it wasn't for this gentleman and that institution, the Purpose Institute, it actually is part of the reason I'm in front of you today. Prior to this, I had a different program that I was focusing on at Ivy Tech Community College. But after that program, it helped me personally to identify where my strengths and where I really needed to be for my purpose. And as a result of that, Mr. Marv Fox here, we've been able to collaborate and connect and bring insight to you on an educational level here on this show called Let's Talk Business. So thank you, Marv, so much for what you do and how you do it, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely, man. I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to rock and roll with you, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So now, with that being said, let's just talk a little bit about, because we talked about your establishment of your company. Did you get any assistance with a business plan or anything like that to kind of give you a blueprint to how your company was going to function, or how did that work for you?
I just started speaking, and I was able to make money before I had to establish a business plan or a LLC and all that other stuff. So I made not a significant amount of money, but I was already making money as an entrepreneur from a basketball standpoint. And then the speaking stuff was kind of like roped into the basketball stuff. But then at some point I realized that I needed to kind of create two different entities. So unfortunately for me, this generation, there's so much information at their fingertips. And I too could have searched the internet and searched for a business plan. I know people that I could have went to help me create a business plan, which would probably have been smart for me. But I just got to it. I just got to it. I was about the work. I was about making sure that my work made sense. I was about making sure that my work could be usable or functional in a professional setting, in a sports setting. So I was just about the development of the product. That I was more concerned about that. And I think sometimes it's cool that you got a cool business plan, and sometimes that's necessary, especially if you want to get loans, or if you want to ask them, you want to get investors. You need to have a business plan, because those people who are really, really rooted in business and ethics and know their stuff, they're going to need to see that. But for me, I wasn't asking anybody for anything. So it was more about developing my product more than it was about developing a business plan. And I think sometimes people, they get so caught up in the business plan that now when it's time for the product to be put on the table, it look a little suspect. You know what I mean? It doesn't look very dynamic. It doesn't look very strong. But the business plan looks awesome.
Right.
So I think you got to find that balance between. Okay. So for me, I just got to the action.
All right. All right.
But I think you got to find a nice blend of developing your product and having that business plan. I wouldn't advise anybody to just start doing business without some foundation.
All right, my man. Thank you for that. So we're getting ready to wrap this up, but before we do, can you please tell people how they can contact you for your services?
So again, for companies who want to get involved with a unique approach to professional development, and that professional development in the direction of leadership or performance or wellness, a team that is healthy, a unit that is healthy is probably going to perform better under pressure, whether it's emotional intelligence or even DE&I. You can go to marvfoxjr.com, marvfoxjr.com, and send me a request. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about what you need, and let's talk about how purpose work can unlock the purpose of everybody that you're working with, and help. And those people will help fulfill the mission statement. And then if anybody else wants to check my content, go on IG and go to Speak on Purpose, and you can hear my content, get to know me, and then from there that might inspire a conversation that might turn to an awesome collaboration.
All right, my man. Well, Marv, thank you so much for joining us, brother, and we look forward to connecting in the future. And for the rest of our guests, we want to tell you all thank you again for joining us for another episode of Let's Talk Business. Take care, you all.